If you want a way to power your camera for a longer amount of time than what this small battery is able to give you, then I love using these V-mount batteries. The biggest problem with V-mount batteries in the past was that they were really big and bulky and they required a lot of hardware to set up a camera rig with them. But now a couple companies have made these little folding V-mount rigs, and this one by Neewer is one of the newest ones I've been able to find, and it's a relatively affordable option coming in at just $50. So I picked one up, and the first one I got, the battery would not stay on the back, but Neewer sent me a new one, and this one holds the battery great, very strong attachment to the battery. So what's great about the way these works is you can either use them with a camera cage, or they also give you an Arca Swiss plate that you can put directly on your camera. So it has an Arca receiver on the top for attaching your camera, and then there's an Arca plate on the bottom, and there's also these feet on the back of it too that help you with balancing. And then you have this knob that allows you to adjust how easy the back plate's able to move, and you also have this lever that allows you to extend or collapse the rig a little bit more. And then on the front, there's a tightening knob for tightening down the clamp, and there's also this really cool dual action safety lever, so you can either release by pressing it, or you can also move it to the side. So this does a great job at holding the plate in whenever it's fully extended. The plate's not gonna be able to accidentally slide off unless you actually press that, and then the plate will come off. Or if you don't want to use the safety, you can also turn it to the side. So it's very easy to set this up with the camera. I typically use a cage, but in this instance, we're just going to use my S5 IIX with no cage on it, and I've also got a heavier lens on it too. So the back of the mounting plate includes this little screwdriver, and now we're ready to attach our camera onto it. So you just pop the camera on and then lock the front lever, and that'll clamp it down good and tight. Now you might think, well, how do you open your screen once this is on? Well, you can just loosen that, fold it down, and then you get the screen out of the way, and you can put the screen to the side of the battery if you want to store it that way, and the battery kind of acts as a little bit of a cushion for it too. To attach the battery, you just slide it on the top and it locks in place. Now you got this cute little camera rig. But if you want to actually send power to your camera, you're going to have a couple different options depending on your battery and camera. So with a lot of cameras, you can power them using USB-C. So we could actually just plug in directly to the side port of this. And this is one way that you can power the camera as long as you have a battery built in. What I love about this method of powering it is, as soon as you remove the camera and remove the battery, it's still going to keep working. But the way I typically do it is I use a USB-C cord going from the camera to an SSD. So I typically put a dummy battery in the bottom of the camera. I really like the Condor Blue dummy batteries because they have built-in voltage regulators, so that's going to do a great job at protecting your camera from any voltage spikes. I've had great luck with all the Condor Blue products. They've sent me a couple to review, but I also have bought a lot from them on my own. And then we can plug this adapter into the 12 volts. Now you will want to do your own due diligence. Make sure you know the power requirements of your camera. If it's not supposed to have 12 volts or DTAP, don't plug it into that. Make sure you check with your camera provider and the battery for specs on how to use it. Then you can do a little bit of cable management, get the cord out of the way, and now we're able to power the camera for a really long time with this mini V-mount battery. And we've got this really nice and compact rig. And another thing I love about these is it actually gives a little bit of heft to the camera as well, so that's going to be a great option for handheld shots like this because you can press the battery against your chest, get an extra point of contact, and get really steady footage. And you're basically going to be able to run this all day. I found you get hours and hours of use out of the battery. Of course, you can also use a cage. You can fully rig out the camera, put a monitor on the top of it, and power it from the battery as well. This is just more of a minimal rig that we built out today. But as you can see, it's just very compact, very small, easy to use and set up. So overall, I do really like this Neewer one. There's just a couple things with it that get on my nerves when you compare it to the one from SmallRig. So I actually got this SmallRig one at the beginning of the year. This one is a little bit heavier. It has a wider plate on the back, which I found the plate on this to be plenty solid. I did find that you're able to get this tighter than you're able to get it on the Neewer one. With the Neewer one, I was having to use an Allen wrench to tighten from the side from time to time. Another thing that's different on this one, you just have this slider latch that allows you to latch the Arca plate onto the receiver. I found with the Neewer one, it's a little better. You can get it on better. But the main feature of the SmallRig one that's better to me is on the bottom of it, there's no built-in plate, but you get 3 mounting slots on it. So they give you an Arca plate you can mount directly onto the bottom of it. Or the way I use this is I typically put a Manfrotto plate on the bottom of it. That also does a great job holding it up whenever I have it fully rigged out. The problem with this Neewer one is the Arca plate is permanently attached to the bottom and the screw holes go sideways. So if you want to actually put a Manfrotto plate on, you're not going to be able to use multiple screws, so you can get some twisting. So I wish that was different on the bottom of this so that you didn't have to use the built-in plate. But I see why they did it because it's handy to have the Arca. I just wish that it had Manfrotto instead, because now I'm going to need to use a different adapter to attach this to my Manfrotto head tripods. So really the only time I would recommend buying the SmallRig one over the Neewer one is if you want to put a plate on the bottom of it, because the SmallRig one is going to give you a flatter base to work with. Otherwise, I would save the money and get the Neewer PS015 over the SmallRig mini V-mount plate. The Neewer PS015 does come in at $50, and I found there's a couple different versions of this that are floating around. The first one I got, actually the V-mount battery wouldn't stay attached to it, so I had to send it into Neewer and I got a new one. But this new one has been perfect and worked great, and at $50 I feel like it's a bargain to help you set up your camera rig faster. Their PS099E also typically runs for about $100 or so. So for $150 plus a dummy battery or a USB-C cable, you can have a camera rig that's going to be powered for a long time. I've been able to run the camera for 3 to 4 hours with this battery. I'm sure it would last even longer. I haven't fully tested the capacity of it. So make sure that you do your due diligence whenever you set up a rig like this to know how long the battery is actually going to last for you before you take it to a real world shoot. Also, I will say one other thing about these batteries is I recommend having 2 of them, because you never want to put all your eggs in one basket and just having one battery to power your camera rig. So overall, highly recommend the Neewer PS015 mini V-mount battery rig. If you're interested in buying one of these or any of the other gear we've used in this video, I have links to buy in the description below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. And if you got any questions, always drop a comment down below as well.